Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. Pull up a chair, have a seat. Let's talk about our bishop for our fantasy themed chess set. He's really turning out fantastic. It's not complicated. It's a simple carving. It's going to be a beginner style carving, just like all of these carvings are for this fantasy chess set, because I want anyone to be able to do this. So we're going to jump into this real quick. It's going to be on the same piece of basswood that we've been using for the rook and the knight, a 2.5-inch tall piece on a 1x1, and it's going to be knife only. Let's get into it. Okay, so the figure we're carving today is our bishop for our chess set. Now, this is the same kind of thing you've expected from me before. It's going to be a rustic, simple design. Again, this is a beginner level tutorial, so we're not doing anything complicated here. There's going to be very similar finishes to what you've seen us do in other videos. The hood, the beard, and the nose here are all similar to the Gnome Ranger we've done. The complicated part here is going to be including the staff as a part of the carving and not as a separate piece. That can be a bit of a challenge. So that's going to be the fun challenge we're going to do today. The rest of it is very similar to other things that we've done, and he's going to go very good with the rest of our set for everything that we get done here. So, and just to verify, 2.5 inches in length, and it's on a 1x1 block. The same thing we've done for our rook and our knight, same size block. We're going to upgrade our block to taller blocks when we get over to our kings and queens, and I've got some blocks over there for doing more of our bishops. So to start with, we are going to put in from one corner to one corner on one plane of the block here, a straight line for our staff. Now I'm going to just go about a 1/16 of an inch in on the top left and a 1/16 of an inch up on the bottom corner here. And then I'm just going to draw a straight line through the whole carving like that. So about a 1/16 of an inch up or so and a 1/16 of an inch over. And now I'm going to put about a 1/4 of an inch in between this and go directly parallel to that first line and do another line. That is going to be our staff right there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We're going to draw a straight line from one corner to the other. This is going to help us keep center as we're carving out the head. And it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do that right now because we're not going to carve the head out the same way we might normally do with sweeps from the side because of that staff that's going to be there causing issues for us. But we're still going to do the right side of the face here the same way, kind of come down and then curve around. And this side is going to be the same design, coming down and then curving around. It's just that we're going to be doing it with the added obstacle of that staff being in the way. Okay, now I'm coming in about halfway on the carving. It's about 1 inch in, or 1/2 inch in on the carving right here. And then I'm coming down about 1.5 inches before I start to curve over or curve around. And that outside corner is about 3/4 of an inch down in total. And then about, what, a 1/2 inch from the bottom is where the bottom of the hand's going to be for our carving. And we're going to bring that down like so. And we'll kind of block out a small hand here for the carving, as you can see on this one here, like so. And remember, if you look at the upper left portion right here, this is our overlay, and that is the carving that we're working on right now. So you can see that right here the entire time while we're carving on this. If you want to see what we're doing and how we're going to wind up looking, that's what we're going to wind up looking like exactly from what we're doing right here, right now. Now, the other thing we need to make sure we do before we get too far into this is the hand on the right hand, the left side of the carving, is going to be going over the staff and holding on to the staff. So we need to make sure we plan that out right off the bat because we want the arm to come down and then over and have that hand come across the top of the staff like so, and then have that robe hang down a bit. Maybe I'll bring it down a little bit lower. Have it go up a bit higher. Now it's hard to get measurements exactly on this because it's It's something we're just kind of drawing in place, right? And you can see that this hand here may need to be extended down. And we'll put the bottom of the robe right like so. All right, so let's get some measurements here. I'm doing it based off proportions. So the bottom of the robe there for the left arm is about 1/2 inch up. So about 1/2 inch up from the bottom of the carving, okay? This elbow here is about 3/4 inch up, and the top of that hand is about 1 inch up from the bottom. The inside edge of that palm and where that robe starts is about 1/2 inch in from the outside of the carving. So those are some good measurements, some references for you to use. Pause the video there, transfer that drawing onto your own carving, and then for the outside edge of the robe in the bottom, it's gonna be the same width of that inside arm right there, right on down, like so. And we're gonna wind up putting a belt on him when we get done, and put a beard on him as well, but we're not gonna draw those on there right now because we don't need them just yet. So what I'm using today for carving is this Helvey detail knife. It is a Floyd Ratigan style handle. I like the way that handle is. It's a bit thin at the top for my taste, but the big beefy bottom part makes me feel like I got something in my hand, which makes it easy to grip, and just fantastic knife. So to start with, we're going to go ahead and start taking off the right side of the carving here. And we're just going to start here at the shoulder, and we're going to go swoop in and up to take that off. And we're going to work our way back to the side of the head, that mark we got in the front, and try to keep yourself flat in that plane of the carving. You see I'm getting a little bit too far in on the right side. I'm going to bring that back around to smooth that back out with the left side, and I can check to see if I'm keeping it in line like so. I'm getting pretty close. That's about right. And let's take a little bit more. That's pretty darn good. Now here on the left side of the carving, the right side of the figure, right? So that's our figure. We need to cut out our staff right off the bat. So we're going to start with a straight cut in, and I'm just going to press the blade down and then draw it down, coming down to the top of the hand, okay? I'm not going in too deep, and I'm going to stop at the top of the hand. I'm not going to go any farther past that. Even if I get close to it and don't quite get to it, that's enough. Just don't go past it. And then I'm going to do that line again, getting just a little bit deeper. I'm not putting a lot of pressure here. I'm not in danger of losing control because I'm not pushing hard, and you shouldn't either. And then one more time to sink it just a little bit deeper. Again, and you can see that the tip has gotten a little bit deeper each time, and that makes it easy to do. We're not trying to do this hard, not trying to like really push in hard, because that's when people wind up losing control of the knife. We do the same thing on the other side here. We're going to draw it down all the way down to the top of the hand slash robe there, like that. And we're going to do it again. And then one more time, like so. Now, we're going to carve our line here from the elbow out to the top of the hand here. So I'm going to push in at the elbow. I'm going to push pretty deep in here at the elbow and just push it in flat on the plane with the knife. So I'm not coming in at an angle like this or like this. I'm coming in straight, just angled down with the line there, planting it deep at the corner of that elbow. And you can see about how deep I got it. I'm going to do the same thing from the top side, and I'm going to make sure the bottom of the blade down here doesn't go into the staff. So I'm going to push it in, get some depth there, and you can see that the back of the blade right there at the bottom, right here, doesn't go into the staff. So that's what we're watching out for, because we don't want to have that cross that line. I can go ahead and pull that out. Now I'm going to continue this line here, bring it over to the top of the hand, all the way over to there, and then I'm going to carve down the top of that palm, like so. And then I'm going to carve across here, and then across here, and here, and then finally this section right here. Being careful, being mindful of the back of that blade too, like where the blade ends, making sure it doesn't end past where I want to go. And then let's do the bottom edge of that robe here. We're just tracing these lines. This one I can kind of rock in a little bit further to get a little bit of depth there. And now we can try to carve out the bottom half of our staff, just tracing that out As I get to the bottom, I'll roll it down. Tracing out again. As I get to the bottom, I roll it down. And one more time, and then roll it down to the bottom. Now, for this one, we're stopping at the bottom of the hand. So at the bottom of the hand where we start, we got that line going through the hand. We're not going to carve on that. That was just what we drew originally to keep our line straight for our staff. We're going to start here at the bottom of the hand, and you don't have to draw. You don't have to draw it. You can just rock it in, because the blade should be long enough right here to go all the way down to the outside edge of that carving. And you can see I've rocked it in a good little bit, just a little bit of depth. Doesn't be crazy. If you want to try to draw it down, you can set it down here on your craft mat if you've got one, just to pull that line a little bit harder, a little bit deeper if that's what you need, if that's what you feel like you want to do, like so. Now we got all those lines traced out. We're going to do the same thing for our head right here as well, and for our shoulder. Now, for our head, we're not coming in straight on a flat plane. Everything here has been on a flat plane with the carving here. Now we're going to adjust, and our plane is going to be that center line here. We're going to be coming in like so on the carving. So we're going to come in and draw down along the side of the head here, down to the staff. Let me get a little bit of depth there, okay? And then we're going to deepen this line here. Again, we're starting to carve out a triangle here. And let's deepen this line again. And here's where it can get tricky, because we're not meeting it all the way in. And that's really difficult to do, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to wind up taking out half it. So you can see how deep we've got here already on that straight plane, right? We're coming in and we're coming down. So you can see where we come out there, right in line with that center line right here. So if I come in right up here, I can start to chip a bit of that out. I can start to do the same thing a little bit lower. Do the same thing a little bit lower. So I'm starting to remove that material we don't need. Now I can make sure I'm lined up again. Oh, and I just chipped out right there. So there is that chip. I was very careful, very mindful, and slow and methodical while I did that. But you can see what we wound up getting accomplished there, okay? If you need to clean up that edge, you can do so like that. And we can see we've got a little bit more meat here on the left side than we do on the right side. We don't need as much as we have, which is great. It's easier to trim it down now because we can trim it down like so, and we can get just where we want to go and remove any of those harder lines we need to. But because we did it this way, we've got that staff almost broken out. So same thing over here. We're coming in straight in the plane that we traced it on. Okay, and it's gonna make a little bit more depth right here. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the shoulder here and just carve right up to it. I'm just gonna rock it in kind of, okay? Right like so, just rocking it in to trace that line out. Now, on that plane, I can kind of push in from the top and come down to that shoulder, just like so. Rock it in, come in, cut and then recut to get down to where you need to. Cut and then recut. Just until you free up what you need to. And you can see we've got that starting to be freed up. And we're freeing it up on like a long form. We don't need all of this stuff back here behind that staff. Sorry, I had an itch. We don't need all that stuff behind the staff. But right here, like there's the corner, right? So about a quarter of an inch out from that corner, right about here, I'm going to draw a straight line straight down. And that is what we're going to try to free up from the rest of this. And it's going to go in again. And again, and you can see that's too much of the staff. I'd rather have too much at this point than not enough. Too much is going to allow me to carve it back, and I can take out this little V like so. I'm going to clip out the bottom. Okay, I did a secondary relief cut on one side, and I came in and clipped out the bottom. Okay, and now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to take that hard edge off of this corner right here, and then I'm going to clip out the bottom if it'll free up. Well, let's try recutting. There we go. So we've got that freed up a bit. And you can see the back of our head is looking a bit different because we're going to wind up bringing that hood in over here, okay? So let's take off in the back corner here. Let's go ahead and take off some of this wood here so we can get rid of what we don't need. And you can see I'm gonna try to keep it straight in line with that center line there. We can take that hard corner off here. We can take that hard corner off right here, and we're starting to line ourselves up right. You can see we got more wood right there on the right side of the head than we need to have. So what I'm going to do is, and what you can do is you can start to make a relief cut right here. This is hard and it's going to cause splitting if we do this too hard. So we don't want to start from there. What we'd like to do is start to whittle up and into it from the bottom. So I'm going to use paring cuts off the side of the head there. I'm going to try to do another upwards cut from this side, trim that out, and up. As we start to free up that top. Now, that staff here, I'm going to try to carve up along the inside edge of that, just to trim off some of that back edge of that staff. I'm doing this a little bit at a time, tiny amounts, not a lot, just to free that up, you see? I want to leave some meat to the staff because we're going to round it off in the front and round it off in the back. And as we do that, it's going to thin it out quite a bit more than it is right now. But this is one of those things where carving the staff into this is going to be probably the difficult part for a lot of folks that are newer. And so I want you to be mindful of it, because that's where you're going to wind up having to restart if you do that wrong. And the hardest part of it is right here in this corner. That's the most difficult part. The rest of it, that's simple carving, but freeing this up and also carving the back side of that head, that's the hard part, okay? So just know that I know that. And I'm telling you it's the hard part. So when you're having difficulty with it, yes, yes, you're going to have difficulty with it. So right here, I'm just carving along the back of the head, putting in a ridge for that hood to stop on. You follow? And it's going to be in line with what we got going on over here. All the way over, and that's where our hood is kind of ending. Just little stop cuts, kind of little V cuts. There we go. That's a good start. We're making good progress. All right, now I'd like to take out the wood here right underneath the arm here. So I'm going to come in right along this plane, straight in. I'm just going to rock that blade in a little bit at a time, right like so. And you can see how I got that angle in there, right like that. And then I'm going to carve right up to it on that corner. Do it again, just to get a little bit of depth, and carve right up to it till we meet right on that edge for where we want it to be. And then for the bottom part, we just carve straight down, a little bit at a time, and then we've got that carved out right there, looking pretty good. So let's take off the bottom half of this. Put that over there out of the way. Let's take the bottom half of this off. On the back of the carving, just kind of straightening that out. We don't need all of that there. And then we'll take our saw marks off right here. Get rid of those. Same thing on this side here. All the way off. Now we're going to do our bottom half of our hand on this side as well. So we're going to start right here on the sleeve, right? We want to free the sleeve and the hand. So the sleeve, I'm going to start, and I'm going to press that knife in all the way to the depth of the hand, and then I carve right up to that, okay? And now we're going to start where the hand goes, and I'm going to rock that cut in here, and then we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to carve right up to that hand. And we need to get a little more depth. We can go ahead and take that bottom part out, what we got. Rock that in again. Stop cuts. And just a little bit at a time. And you can see we've got that in just a bit, right? Just enough of a notch that you can separate the hand out from the rest of the carving there. Not hard, just takes a little time. Okay, next, let's go ahead and cut in this arm here what we're going to do is we're going to be flat on the plane of this carving here. So coming in straight on this plane here, I'm going to carve from the hand right up into the arm, like so. And I'm coming in, you can see I'm flat on that plane right there, okay? Maybe angled back a little bit, not much. And then once we get that cut in, I'm going to come in from this side, angled in about like so. Not a crazy angle, and just carve it out and down. And let's just do a stop cut there. Will that free that? It would. Like that. So we started to free that up just a bit, like a little V cut coming down from there. And if you get a V tool, you could cut through that cut with a V tool, and it would come out just fine. And same thing for the back of the arm. Another cut like so. Like you get a paring cut from the other direction to cut that out. We got that arm started to be formed. Okay. Not hard, not complicated. This is easy stuff that you can absolutely do. It just takes time to do. Now we want to give this arm the illusion of being an actual arm. See how it looks so straight and just stiff? That's terrible. So what we're going to do this is we're going to take a little bit out right here at the top, a V cut, and we're going to take a little bit out right here in the middle, like so, and then a little bit off the back edge as well, okay? So first off at the top here, I'm going to come straight in and then take that little nick out. It's not a lot, but it is enough to add just a hint of this arm being more realistic. Okay, and then right like so on the bottom. Now, see how there's some movement to that arm? It looks like the arm's kind of coming down, like it's slightly bent arm, right? That little bit gives us movement into the carving that we didn't have before and makes him look less stiff and more alive. All right, now we got all these saw marks here. Let's go ahead and take those off at this point. I'm just going to barely slice all of this here off, just barely taking anything off. We're losing our saw marks and we're losing our pencil marks by doing this. It's okay, we don't need our pencil marks on that arm anymore. We have formed that arm enough, we know what we got here, okay? Now for that hand, I'm going to continue that line around and then cut out a little bit. We're not going to put a lot of detail on this hand. It's just going to be separated enough that you can see there's a hand there, okay? This is not a realistic carving. We're not going for realism. We're going for this rustic kind of Scandinavian flat plane. We want to give the illusion of a hand. And as long as you look at it and you can say, that's supposed to be a hand, our job is done. As long as someone can look at it and understand that that is supposed to be a hand, that's what our goal is here, okay? It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be much. We do the same thing over here. But first off, we've got a lot of wood here in the front that we don't need, right? We need to be mindful of where the staff is going to be. We can take off a lot of this wood to bring that head back to where we're going to be at. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Starting midway, I'm just doing swooping cuts coming in and out at the top. Just swooping cuts in and out. And I start to take off the saw marks here on that side. Straighten that flat plane out. And now I'm going to take a look at our mark here at the top, right? That's our center line. Let's make sure that center line stays centered for us. And a little more adjustment. There we go. So now our center line is still pretty centered. So what we're going to do here is we need to give the illusion of this staff being on the outside edge of the shoulder, but the hand being on the outside edge of the staff itself. So we need to make sure that we carve down into this corner here without doing it too hard of an angle, because that corner needs to be deeper than the staff. So I'm going to come in here at just a slight angle and then pop that out, okay? Just a little bit of depth. And you can see there's not a lot of depth there. See that shadow there in that corner? We don't have a whole lot going on right there, okay? Now for the rest of this, I'm going to come in at this angle right here and then carve that out right there, coming in from this angle. So we got a little triangle in there for that elbow. So that elbow is in deeper than the staff is, and that's looking pretty good. For the rest of this arm here, this top edge, we're going to angle it in just slightly along that staff, just slightly, okay? And it's going to be a bit more of an angle than you might think you need, and that's okay. We want it to have a bit of definition, right? We want it to look more defined, and it's going to look better by being a little bit more defined than it would be if we didn't define it. It'll provide more shadow and more depth. So you see that's a little bit deeper into that shoulder than we might want to be for a realistic look. But for this carving, it's going to provide, it's going to pop more by having a little bit deeper right there. We're going to do the same thing on this inside edge. So we've already got our line right here sunk, and you can retrace it out if you'd like to, just to make sure. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to do a little 45 kind of degree V cut all the way down to the top of the hand, okay? And you can see it's the same kind of deeper cut right here than on either side. And that is a little bit deeper than you might think that you want to go. And that's okay, because like I said, it's going to provide shadow. It's going to provide a much needed effect for this carving. It's going to make it pop. Now, be mindful as you're taking the edges off of the staff here, okay? The grain direction is traveling vertically. So on the inside edge here, I came down like so, and it worked out pretty well for me. But depending on how your grain is going, it might not work for you, because my grain is traveling a little bit in this direction, okay? A little bit up and over. So for this one, I could try to carve this inside edge from this direction right here, and it should trim fairly easy. If you feel like your knife is digging into the wood going too deep, be really careful. Go slow at first until you find out how it's pulling. And if it's pulling in too deep, that's the wrong direction. Turn around, go from the other direction. Okay? We can take those saw marks off the top of it, right, like so. Trim that edge here and here. Right now I'm just kind of rounding off this staff here as best I can. Taking off those hard edges that we left in other places. Okay? Now you can see that that depth here is, like I said, a bit deeper than we might want, but it's looking good because it's providing that shadow that we might not have gotten otherwise. You follow me? I think you're seeing what I'm laying down here. It's looking absolutely fantastic. So we're going to do the same thing on this bottom edge here. First off, take a little bit off right there. And now we've got our good line already cut here. I'm just going to do a little deep cut right here. I'm going to match it up to a deep cut here on the inside edge of that robe. Okay, and then I'm going to try to V cut right in here. I'm going to work the blade up underneath this like so. Nice and easy. I'm going to do the same thing here. The bottom edge is popping it over, popping it over. And one more time. Get some good depth right there, right? And then we're going to carve this hard edge down. Get a little depth down here around that robe. Look at him. He's starting to come out of the wood, isn't he? Yeah, he's really starting to come out of the wood. Starting to look pretty good. Starting to get that definition that we're looking for. So, pretty happy with that. I'm going to take those saw marks off the robe right here, right now. Now we got this outside edge of the hand and this carving here, okay? So I'm going to resync that line right there just to make sure we got some depth to it, okay? And now let's block it out. That's a weird shape to do. So right at the top of our hand, I'm just going to sink the knife in and come straight out with it, okay? Now we're looking at taking out only this little triangle. So I can just come from the back and smooth out just that triangle, okay? So we block that out kind of. That's fantastic. Now we need to do the same thing for the back of the hand coming down from here. So you can try to do it like this if you want to, and come down and then bring it down around the hand. You can also try to like recut that cut if you want to, and then try to do it from the bottom, depending on the wood grain. That might work for you better. I see it started to split for me, so for this one, I might come down from the top, and kind of swoop and cut in like that. All of the cuts that you make while you're doing these, all of these projects, all these wood carving projects, you need to be judging every cut you make as to whether or not you need to adjust it for your wood grain, because the wood grain is going to be different on your piece versus my piece. How it's flowing, whether it's going up to the left, up to the right, it's never going to be going straight up and down. I wish it was. If it was, you could follow me cut for cut every time and it wouldn't be an issue. But you need to be mindful of what that wood grain is doing so you can predict and go around it as you want to. All right? So we got that hand freed up a bit. Let's go ahead and soften that edge there. And we're going to free up the bottom of this right here. So I'm going to start by putting a little bit of a stop cut in right there for the bottom of that. And we're going to deepen this here with a little V cut right there on the back side and free that out. And now we'll cut like so. Make sure you're wearing gloves. And cut right up onto it. So you freed up the bottom of that staff a little bit there in the front. I think that's going to provide a really nice effect. It's going to look good that we've done that. It'll provide a little more shadow, make it look fantastic. All right, so now we need to make sure the bottom of the hand is separated from that staff as well. Now we've already got our stop cuts there. You can recut those if you want to, just to make sure that they're done appropriately and that you've got the right depth on there. And then I'm going to try to do this in one motion, just kind of rock it up and over. So I'm going to rock up to the bottom of the hand and then into that palm and just chip it out. We don't need to provide a lot of depth here, okay? We just need the illusion that that hand is kind of over that staff. So we don't need a lot of depth, just a little bit. I'm going to try to carve off those saw marks and then round off the outside edge of that hand and the inside edge of it as well. And that is all we need to do for that hand. That's looking fantastic, and yeah, I like that. Okay, for the bottom of the staff here, we want to round that over and make that staff look a bit better. Now, right when I was going up right here, you can see how it started to cut in a real deep there, okay? I started to cut up and it started to catch. So that's when I stopped, because the wood grain is going the opposite direction. I should have paid more attention, but that's okay. I can still correct it because I was going slow enough that I could catch it. It's coming down. I've already gotten rid of that error, and I'm starting to round off those hard edges. Now for the other side of it, though, I need to come the other direction. So we've rounded off that staff. We're looking pretty good. So their arms are set. The staff is set. We need to worry about the rest of our head and our robe. So we don't need this hard edge in the front. We do want it centered, so we're just going to come up like so. Now I am going to bring it like an upside down U, up and over, and then down on this side here. Okay, that's getting down to about the shoulder height. And then we're going to start here and just round off that top edge first. Okay, and we round that off all the way around. In the back edge here, we want to bring that in at a 45-degree angle. That's too far forward. So let's take off a good 45-degree chunk here, and then off that corner too, like so. So we try to round that over like that. And we don't need all these chips here in the way. Now we can take and try to cut off these saw marks off the top of our carving. See, I'm looking around at my carving. What needs to be adjusted to make this look better? Where do I need to cut? That's what I'm looking for as I do that, as I turn this carving around, right? I like the fact that we got it coming in at the back here. But something else I want to do to add some flair is I'm probably going to curve around here. All of these sides here, curving it in like that right there to provide a little texture and definition. But we'll do that later. We'll do that when we're providing final details. First off, let's go ahead and start here in the middle, and I'm going to carve straight in on the carvings plane. So that gets V'd out right here, and we're going to carve straight in, around and down. So carve straight in from the top, middle, and around and down. And you can see the depth I got on there. It's a good little bit. It's not crazy. If I hold that knife right there, you can see it's about that deep right there, about that deep. And the same thing on the other side. And I'm going to start from the middle. I'm going to hold it upside down because I'm right-handed. And just carving around and down. And again, about the same depth. You can see the depth I got in there, right like so. Now I'm going to carve up to the middle from right here, pivoting on that thumb and just coming up and in. And then right there, I turn it up to it. Same thing on that side, but I'm going to do a pairing cut because I'm right-handed. Like so. All right, now we're going to take out that little middle section here. Like that. And we've got a good hood started. You can already see a little bit of shadow underneath that. That's fantastic. Let's take off those hard edges. I don't like those right now. I'm getting ahead of myself. We can fix that all here in a little bit. Okay. Now, we are going for a simple face here, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to just put a big nose in here. Just rock back and forth right there, and then carve up to it. That's about midway down the face. Carve that out. Now I'm going to put a little 45-degree wing on each side. And that gives us a big honking nose. And you don't have to do a big honking nose like that. You can do it however you want to. Now for this, I'm just going to carve straight in and up to it, little chip. Make kind of a side of a cheek there. Same thing there. Right up to it. So we got a big honking nose. It's not complicated. It's not hard. It just provides an illusion of a face. You can try to put some eyes in here. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to go with like what this guy does right here. If you want to, you can start here in the corner and try to carve a little curvature to the side of the nose. Start right here on the inside edge and kind of curve it in and over. If you can manage that. That's a hard cut to do. So that'll give you a little curvature to that nose if you want to. You might need to come to the top and snip it out, but you can see a little more curvature to it now. And you can do the same thing on the top if you want to, kind of curve it in and up if you'd like. It depends on what you have, what knife you've got available as to what kind of cuts you can do, because not every knife is going to allow you to do those kind of cuts. If you got a big old Beavercraft Sloyd, you are not going to be able to do as many details with that knife as I can do on the stuff that I'm doing. Taking off. Again, I'm bouncing around, cleaning things up as I see them. Now, when it comes to the beard here, I like to do, well, like this guy here. I like those straight, flat, plain style beards. So I'm just going to come down at about a 45-degree angle on each side and do a simple cut. You can make this a round beard. You can make it a long beard. You can put a braid down the middle. You can do whatever you want to. It doesn't have to be as simple as I'm doing it. I want this to be a simple carving because when I share pictures of it, I want it to look simple and easy to do so it's more inviting for folks who are newer. But you can do this however you want to. We've got all kinds of designs on the channel of harder carvings or harder beards. Do something more complicated if you'd like to, okay? I'm just going to do a straight cut on that plane, right, like so, coming in and then carving right up to it, like so. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Straight cut coming right in, like so. And I'm going to carve right up to it. Just getting a little bit of depth in there. just to provide a little bit of a definition for beard. Not a whole lot. It's not a complicated beard. Like I said, we're not going for complicated with the beard. We're just looking to set it in. The complicated thing that we did today was that staff. Free up a little bit of that hood around the edge of the beard. Clean those lines up here. All right, now for the mouth, you can do straight across and then down. That'll make it look more severe. You can do an upside down U kind of shape if you'd like to, and that'll give it kind of a frown. I'm going to do this guy slightly different than I did the first one. Do a stop cut in from that corner. And I cut in to that corner. So that corner is the deep part on each side. And I carve up to that corner. And then same thing up to that corner. And that gives a little hump in the middle there, right? And that little hump is like the illusion of a lip. Just a bit of an illusion of like that middle part of the chin. And I kind of like how I see the shadows a little bit different. Just a little bit of an illusion of that, you know? And little things like that can make the carving seem more realistic, give you a hint of something without having to work hard at creating it. So a hint of a lip gives you enough that people suspend their belief that it's just a piece of wood and like, oh wow, look, that does look realistic. It does look more real without being a crazy realistic carving that might be outside of our range of capabilities, you know? Okay, so we're doing really good. The only thing that we haven't done yet is adding in the trim around his shoulders. You can see the left side shoulder is way too high compared to the right side. So we need to fix that. Let's fix that right now, because you can see what I'm talking about right here, right? You can see it. Let's go ahead and take that out. That's much better. Bring that down. And now those shoulders look much more even comparatively. Okay, now that hump on the back, that's too much. Let's go ahead and round that off. Okay, now what we're going to do here is we're going to provide a bit of a shawl kind of thing going on, right? He's a wizard bishop piece. We wanted to have something going on there. Have it come down into here to the back, the outside edge right there. I'm just kind of winging that, make sure it lines up as it goes around. And we're going to draw that line there and carve up to it. So I'm going to cut that line in here, and not a lot of depth. You can see there's just barely, that camera to focus. There's just barely any depth right there, okay? We're just giving a hint of shadow on these lines here. Bring that up. Like that. Other side now. Nice and easy on that corner. And then here, reverse direction. Come in again. And now we're going to try to get this hard part. Use just the tip of the knife to go between that staff and the beard. Carve right to it. Oh, I took off that and it chipped out. See that? That's okay. I'm going to carve a little bit deeper there. Provide a little more depth to it than I wanted to. Same thing here to even it out. And then smooth that out on top of that to fix that chip. So I had the error and I spent a little time working to fix it, okay? That's going to push his belly out a little bit more, and that's okay. That's just fine. That'll give him a little bit of pooch. Actually, I kind of like that. Now, I talked about how we could add more details to the head here, right? So I'm going to curve the back of this hood here all the way around like this. Putting that curvature to the hood is going to make it look more realistic. Follow? Going to provide a little bit of life to it. And not only that, we're going to provide a little bit of a curve here to that arm right here and here. And that's going to put a little bit more movement into that arm. Do you see what I did there? See that little bit? A little bit of curve there and there. Leave that elbow a little bit out. Provides a little bit of curve. Put a little bit of life into that. Same thing there. We curve that in, right? For the bottom of the sleeve here, what we're going to do is to put little folds in it. We'll put a stop cut, carve up to it. Stop cut, carve up to it. That's not much, but it puts a little bit of some folds to that robe. So it's hanging there, right? Oh, we didn't separate the hand from that robe. So we're going to put a little cut there, and then just enough to provide a little bit of shadow, okay? So we're separating that hand out a little bit there. Now we want to put in a belt. We want this belt to come from about the elbows. Oh, and we need to put the back of the arm in here too for this guy. So let's do that real quick. So I'm going to come in straight like so, and then carve down, recut to chip it out. There we go. Okay. Now, cut that hard edge off the back of the elbow there. There we are. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our belt right on the back, like so, all the way around. We can keep an eye on where it is on either side of this arm and try to bring it around the same height. Okay, so that's the height of our belt, and it's pretty lined up. It's close enough. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do stop cuts here. I'm going to stop cut on the back, right there at the top of the belt, and then I'm going to carve right down to it, and then chip that out. Same thing here, and then over here, stop cuts first. Let me adjust that light, and then right down to it. Yeah, and then the other side here as well. Stop cut, and carve up to it. Stop cut, carve up to it. Stop cut, then carve up to it. Okay, now we've got that in. And you can see we're coming down from the back and up to that, and that's creating that that look. It gives him a better physique, like he's a little bit more muscular, because that's when his back, the top part of the back is going to stick out farther than the waist, right? Unless he's, overweight, in which case it's going to be coming out towards the waist. But we're going to give him a bit more of a physique, so it's going to come down to that belt, right? So for this belt, that's a little bit too hard of an edge. So we're going to take this knife and we're just going to carve up like so to soften those hard edges on both sides, top and bottom. And we're going to look at the belt too, and it's probably going to be too high. You can also carve it off on the edge there. Now that belt is too high, it's too thick. So I'm going to take this and carve off a flat plane. We've already rounded those edges off significantly. And just by doing that, we've softened that belt. It's a bit thinner, so that belt is sitting in from the height of the back. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. Okay, so let's continue to the front. Now you can see our lines here are a little bit too high. So I'm going to come down in line to where that belt is in the back. And that's where I'm going to start my first cut and carve right down to it. Do the same thing for the bottom of the belt. Get it in line with the bottom of the belt on the other side. And then carve right up to it. Now over here, same thing. lining it up towards the back of the belt and the front. And then I'm going to carve in and down. Be mindful of where your staff is, where that hand is. You don't want to carve into them, but you want to make that belt look like it goes back there behind the staff. That's our goal. Make it look like it goes behind the staff. So I'm going to carve a bit more out. I'm putting another stop cut here along that staff. I'm going to carve that up to free up more of that staff here. Like that. That's looking better. Yeah, he doesn't look like he has much of a pooch now on his belly. Go ahead and take that hard edge off. Now I'm going to curve that belt, those hard edges, like we did in the back side. Take down the height of the belt a bit if you need to. Okay, now let's brush him off. Now what else can we do to add some more detail? What else can we do to make him pop a little bit more? We can add some flares to the beard. So I'm going to do little V-cuts here in the beard, right? Little V-cuts to make the beard look a bit disheveled. Those really help to add to that. You can see, it looks pretty good. Let's do another one up there. One more. Right like so. Okay? So that adds a bit of definition to the beard. He's got some. Now you could do some funky things. We've done some spiral patterns in other videos, and you could do that if you wanted to. You could just draw lines like this and put a little spiral pattern by doing V-cuts to the belt if you wanted to, right? And then do the same thing here. You want to do it at the same angle, so we'd come from this section here to there. There. So let's do that. That's just going to be a little bit of detail. This is not hard to do, and it's going to make him more, it's going to make it stand out more, make it pop a little bit more, okay? So all we're going to do for this is we're just going to do a V-cut here on the bottom. And if you got a V-tool, this can become really easy, okay? A V-cut in the bottom, and then a V-cut in the middle and along the top, okay? And then redo that bottom one if you need to the depth that you need, that you're wanting. And then same thing over and over again. Just little V-cuts, okay? Nothing complicated. It's something we've done before. It's just a little way to add a little bit of detail if you want to. You do not have to do this part. Little bitty V-cuts. And you could also do the spiral pattern. If you don't want to do it on the belt, do it on the staff. It'll make it look like a swirly pattern on the staff. So there we go. Look at that. That belt has a little twirly pattern to it now, you know. And see how it's looking kind of rough, right? Those cuts are looking kind of rough. When we wash this, it's going to clean that up phenomenally. You're going to be impressed. I promise you. You're going to be impressed. Okay, more V-cuts, more V-cuts. And then one more set of little V-cuts. Okay. So, okay, so we've got those little V-cuts in on there. We put a little detail to our belt that brings the eye to it, really adds some flair. Trim that up. And you could do the same thing if you want to do it to the belt. You could do that to the staff and just maybe do vertical lines right here and just do those V-cuts all the way along there. And look, the staff has a twirly pattern to it. And that's a really neat effect too. So you could do that there as well if you wanted to. If you would like to, you can also just add, like there's a fold in the robe maybe right here, okay? Where the robe separates. And then we can put a little line there because maybe this side here sets on top of this side. Maybe this side here tucks in underneath it, okay? Let's round that edge down and that edge. And maybe that continues all the way down the bottom of the carving right here behind the staff. You can do that to separate it, okay? So we got that in. You know, and you can do all kinds of details. You can spend all day long here picking at them, adding new things, adding extra things. But I think that we did a pretty good job here. I think that he's a good bishop, right? And that'll be a neat addition to our chess set. So, all right, I'm gonna go take him and wash him up. Why don't you take a look at the back of the carving right here? Okay, take a look at this right here. See how rough it is there? I'm not gonna cut anymore, but I'm gonna take it there, I'm gonna wash it up, and you're gonna be pretty happily surprised with how it looks after we wash it up. Actually, let me do this. Clean up a few of these cuts. And I'll tell you before that a good carver doesn't just cut, they recut. Recut some of these cuts can really make it look great, really make it pop out and stand out. But I don't want to spend too much time doing that either because I want it to look rustic. I like this rustic, flat, plain look, this haphazard, ramshackle kind of, whittle. I love this effect. I love this look. So I don't want to lose that by recutting too much. But I want it to be a planned out carving. I just don't want it to look like it's a planned out carving. You know what I mean? Okay, so I'm gonna go wash them up and then I'll be right back and yeah, it'll be done. That's what I was talking about. When you get it done, washed up, look at how all those cuts just kind of get cleaned up. You can see that nice curvature to our arm. It really just makes him pop. Definitely wash your carvings if you haven't been. Absolutely lovely. And you can see now, like we got a lot of depth here into the arm right there, right? And it didn't look as good before, but now we cleaned that up and we've got it washed. It really sets apart that staff from the rest of the body. That shadow there really makes it stand out. And so we got something done that was more difficult, something that folks don't do very often, like including that staff in there. That can be hard, but we managed to get it done. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. So that's all we got done for today. And that's all I got for today, folks. We just finished this guy up and he turned out absolutely fantastic for our bishop. A fantasy themed chess set bishop. I really like the way he turned out. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you for watching to the end of the video. Don't forget to head over to Instagram and Facebook. Give me a like and a follow over there, and I really appreciate it. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. Those comments really fuel me, and they help me keep going, and they help me stay concentrated and focused on the channel, so I really appreciate it if you do that. I love doing this channel and I love staying focused on wood carving because it helps me stay more focused on my journey and on getting better. And a part of that is a subscription to Wood Carving Illustrated. I don't mind pushing a subscription to Wood Carving Illustrated to people because I already had a subscription to Wood Carving Illustrated before I partnered with them for affiliate stuff. The nice thing about the magazine is it not only has ads for tool suppliers you can use, but the articles and the guides and the how-tos and seeing what other folks are doing out there is really amazing. It is a really great resource, and I can't stress enough that you should think about getting a subscription to it. It's a quarterly seasonal magazine. So there's a summer magazine, a fall, a winter magazine, a spring magazine, and that's a great resource. Wood Carving Illustrated has forums as well. That's another great resource. The more I get you focused on and thinking about the hobby, even outside of when the videos come out, the more you're going to improve. And so getting a subscription to Wood Carving Illustrated kind of partners in with that because then you're more focused on the hobby more often. You're thinking about it more often, and that's where growth is going to come from. And that's what I'm hoping for you. So outside of that, folks, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.